I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We continue in the Gospels again. This is going to be in Luke, and he's been primarily in the Judean area for these last several months just before his mortal ministry. We've had the Feast of Dedication marking 3 months before his crucifixion. For a brief time he had gone back up into Galilee, but he has returned back now. On his way, he healed the 10 lepers, and he came back to heal or raise Lazarus from the dead. And that is where we read last. Well, the last thing we read, our timeline was a little mixed up in the last few videos, but we are now back in Jerusalem again. And we are once again reading in Luke. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Luke chapter 17, verses 20 through 37. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of God should come, he answered them and said, The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, Lo here, or Lo there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. And he said unto the disciples, The days will come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and shall not see it. And they shall say to you, See here, or see there. Go not after them, nor follow them. For as the lightning that lighteneth out of the one part under heaven shineth unto the other part under heaven, so shall also the Son of Man be in his day. But first must he suffer many things, and be rejected of this generation. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven, and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. He that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, and the other left. 2 men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. Now, a lot of this seems very similar to what we will read shortly in Matthew 25 and Mark 13. This is a prophecy of the second coming. The first coming, as he tells the Pharisees when they ask when the kingdom of God comes, he says, you won't observe the first coming. It's not going to be declared. We're not declaring a kingdom. It is in you. When the people are converted, the kingdom of the Lord is among them. But then he tells the disciples, the day will come, you will be looking for my coming. That's when he says you will look for a day of the Son of Man. He's talking about the second coming. He's saying you are going to look for it, but you're not going to live to see it. It's not going to be in your lifetime, but it is coming. But before it comes, I'm going to have to die. I'm going to have to go through a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of tribulations. But when it does come, it is going to be obvious to the world. When the lightning strikes, people from all over can see it. That's what the second coming is going to be like. Everybody will see it. Now, this is where a lot of Christians take, and there's this and other passages in Matthew and Mark, where they take this to be the rapture. One is taken and one is left. But the problem is that this is at the second coming itself. This is not a time before the second coming. When Christ returns, the righteous are taken off the earth and the wicked are destroyed. And that's what he's talking about here. And even in preparation for the coming of Christ, he says, where the body is, the eagles will be gathered. And this is the body is the church. And where the church is established, the saints flock to it. And so there will be a gathering of the saints immediately before the second coming. And they will gather to the stakes of Zion, or the eagles will gather to the body. And the second coming happens, And we have the righteous are taken up, and the wicked are destroyed. But until that time, everything moves smoothly, everything goes on as it always did, just like with the time of Noah, just like in the time of Lot. The wicked don't know the end is coming. They continue to marry, to buy and sell, to build. Everything is going on as it always has. And then the second coming happens. Let us now look at the Joseph Smith translation. In verse 21, near the end there, the kingdom of God has already come unto you, instead of the kingdom of God is within you. So he's saying the kingdom of God is already here. I'm setting it up. In verse 22, we have a lot of small changes. So it's now his disciples instead of the disciples. And when they will desire to see, and then at the end, and they shall not see it. So there will become a time when the saints are wanting to see the second coming, but they won't see it because it won't be in their lifetime. That's actually a prophecy of what happens shortly after the death of Christ, in that many saints expected the second coming immediately, and Paul has to tell them, oh, it's a ways off. So we see that, we will see that anyways, even shortly after Christ's death. Verse 23 says, and if they shall say to you, see here or see there. So if anybody claims that Christ has already returned, don't listen to him, because then in verse 24, for as the light of the morning that shineth out of the one part under heaven, and lighteneth to the other part under heaven, so shall also the Son of Man be in his day. Makes more sense as the light of the morning rather than lightning, because lightning is actually not that bright, and it's only bright for a very brief time, but you get the dawn rising, the sun rises, and all the land is made bright by it. It is something that nobody can deny. In verse 25, but first he must suffer. So just change the position of the word he. Minor grammatical correction. In verse 31 it says, in that day the disciple who shall be on the housetop, and his stuff in the house. So he's talking about those who are faithful, not the world. And later on it changes, and he that is in the field to he who is in the field. So that's a minor grammatical correction. So again, we're talking about the faithful. When the faithful see the second coming, don't turn back. Remember Lot's wife. She went out with Lot, but then she tried to go back. She wanted to go back into the worldly things. Then in verse 34 and 35 and 36, we remove all references to men and women. So now it's just 2 in one bed, 2 shall be grinding, and 2 shall be in the field. But then we have this, 37 has a significant addition to it. So now it says here, and they answered and said unto him, where, Lord, shall they be taken? And he said unto them, wheresoever the body is gathered, or in other words, whithersoever the saints are gathered, thither will the eagles be gathered together, or thither will the remainder be gathered together. This he spake, signifying the gathering of his saints and of angels descending and gathering the remainder unto them, the one from the bed, the other from the grinding, and the other from the field, whithersoever he listeth. For verily there shall be new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. And there shall be no unclean thing, for the earth becoming old, even as a garment, having waxed in corruption, wherefore it vanisheth away, and the footstool remaineth sanctified, cleansed from all sin. So with that clarification, I would say the prophecy is talking about still the second coming, and there will be many of the saints gathered together in bodies. But when Christ comes back, all the righteous are caught up, and those who are not able to join the saints, who have not been able to gather, they will be collected by the angels and brought up to join them. So we will have the main body of saints being taken up to join Christ, and all those who are faithful saints throughout the world will be caught up by the angels. I like that. That is a good image. But we leave that here. I believe we continue in Luke next, so I will see you there.